Alright, I'm back with another Destiny 2 video. I didn't know if I was actually going to do one today because it's offline today. It is the calm before the storm, the day before Lightfall, where you can download the 80 gig, 100 gig, whatever it is, patch on whatever platform you have to upgrade to Lightfall, which went live a day early and took the game offline for some people. But they told us ahead of time we're going to get 24 hours of downtime. I didn't really think there'd be any news today, but they did just publish the patch notes, and obviously the patch notes are massive, but I'd say we know probably 95% of stuff on here already because they have been covered in a bazillion different blogs and twabs and whatever to this point. However, I did want to spotlight one thing that broke through here. There's like a couple things certainly that did not make some of the initial list, but there was an entire exotic armor section. Although entire, I mean two things that are nerfs and a bunch of stuff that's updated to work with Strand that is supposed to. And that's it. And you can see now why we didn't have an exotic armor blog, because there's not nearly enough for an exotic armor blog. My hope here is that there was just so many other changes coming with Lightfall in the sandbox, the introduction of Strand, like the reworking of all these different systems. Like there's just a trillion things coming with Lightfall that I don't know if there's anyone left over to be able to work on a giant exotic armor pass, which we desperately need because there are just so many underused, completely pointless exotics, even more than weapons, I would say for sure, that need a lot of help, that need updating for 3.0 subclasses, that need buffs from never being good, that need old nerfs reverted. There's a lot of stuff that needs help with exotic armor. Instead, what we got are two major nerfs, which I will go through here. So this is the exotic armor changes, which goes from essentially here to here, and that's it. The first is for Khepri's Sting. True Sight is now granted when damaging an enemy with a smoke bomb. Additionally, when you have an undetonated smoke bomb on the battlefield and have not been made invisible by a smoke bomb, you gain significantly increased melee generation. This is some sort of nerf. I don't use Khepri's. I know it was a really big PvP exotic and people were annoyed about the True Sight and invisibility and all the stuff going on with Khepri's. I know that was a big point of annoyance. I don't fully understand exactly what has changed here because I have not used this, because I'm not a big PvP person, but this is some sort of nerf that makes it worse than whatever it was doing before, which I guess was too annoying in PvP. So, sorry, Khepri's lovers, this has been nerfed to some degree. What I do care about is Heart of Inmost Light. And they've been trying to rein this in for a couple seasons now, trying and mostly failing. What it really popped off was Season of Plunder with Arc 3.0 and the roaming Titan Storm Grenade build, where you could just, the combination of like HOIL being, or HOIL, I'm just going to call it Heart of Inmost Light. Heart of Inmost Light being good at baseline just because of the absurd kind of the length of the buffs, the size of the buffs, the reduction of the cooldowns it would give you on any subclass were amazing, but especially with the addition of subclass 2.0 and the class ability that was a really fast dodge move where you could just refresh that cooldown constantly, like almost instantly, with crazy uptime, and roaming Titan Storm Grenades, which were just stupidly overpowered. They nerfed the Jet Boost move, the cooldown on it a little bit. I don't know if that affects Heart of Inmost Light that much, but they did nerf Storm Grenades. They made those a little less damaging, but it didn't kill Heart of Inmost Light builds at all. Like, they're still really strong. This nerf may kill them, or at least dramatically reduce their effectiveness. So, Heart of Inmost Light, reduced duration of the empowered ability buffs in PvE to 5 seconds, down from 10 seconds. Reduced bonus class ability regeneration when empowered to 25% per stack in both PvE and PvP, down from 150% and 38% respectively. That's a huge nerf. So it's not even just that they're... So if you've ever tried to use Heart of Inmost Light in like Gambit, because you think, oh, it's mostly PvE, it'll work the same. It doesn't. They use PvP rules for Gambit, and the timer is cut in half, and you get a lot less, bonus ability regeneration. And this is even worse than that now. So it used to be, it's going from 150% of class ability regeneration bonus to 25% per stack. And it used to be 38% at the low end, and now it's even lower than that. And it says this change is intended to decrease how easy it is to get and maintain a 2x empowerment bonus in PvE, as well as reduce the total amount of bonus ability energy provided. The goals for Heart of Inmost Light to remain strong in ability focused builds, giving room for other exotics to shine as well. I don't know, man. That's a monster nerf to the point where I don't know if it'll be worth using anymore. And the other problem is, of course, there are no other buffs here. They're just, many Titan exotics have already been nerfed in other ways, depending on what they are. The, Lorelei Splendor already got nerfed because it was giving too much restoration. And Titans do not have, I would say they don't have that many crazy, amazing exotics in the current state as it is. A lot of their best ones have been nerfed over time. Titans are also getting a lot of other nerfs. There's big nerfs coming to Grenade and Thunder Crash, and there's a lot of Titan nerfs coming specifically. Whereas something like Starfire Protocol and Warlocks escaped from this patch unscathed, and that is a crazy, crazy grenade-based strategy for Warlocks, but it is the Titan one that got hit here. I don't know how this is going to feel after this. My guess is bad. Currently, I have a Lorelei build on for Lightfall, not a Heart of Inmost Light build, but I don't know. I'm not really eager to try this out. It did need to be nerfed. It was just way better than anything else on the field for Titans in almost all circumstances. Maybe this is hitting it too hard. I'm not sure. We can't really know for sure until we get our hands on it, although I know how it feels in Gambit, and it sucks. So if that's true, I don't know. So that is easily the biggest nerf, I would say, out of this whole thing. The rest of this is just really basic stuff, okay, we have a new subclass, all this other stuff is supposed to work with Strand now, and it would be kind of stupid if it didn't. Bombardiers now cause targets to damage by its explosive become severed when using Strand Hunter. That's the new Strand status effect. That's not, I don't know. I mean, that's not anything surprising. Radic Fire works a Strand. Mantle Battle Harmony works a Strand. Verity's Brow works a Strand. Felwinter's Helm triggers Weaken Burst off Strand melees. Good. Claws will not provide an additional melee charge when equipped to a Strand subclass. Not sure about that one. I don't know why you wouldn't get another melee charge. I guess because are all the Strand melees multi-charge? They're all I know at least 2 of them are 3 charges. I think the Titans and the Hunters, I forget what the Warlocks is, but Claws will not give you that on Warlock. So I don't even remember what Warlocks was. All I remember them is them doing a Scarlet Witch hands spellcasting thing. I don't exactly remember what their melee was, but apparently they don't want you to have 2 of those, so just don't use Claws on Warlocks for whatever reason. Again, I hope that the plan here is to do a larger pass at exotics sometime in the future. I would say close to 60, 70% plus of current exotics need some form of buffs or some form of new relevance. I do not think we are anywhere close to anywhere near the amount of exotics that we have being relevant enough to work with just not even subclass 3.0, but just the state of the game in general. We've seen many, many exotics, even new exotics introduced that are just terrible, that have always been terrible. The Titan Electric Thunder Gloves, I don't remember the name of them because I used them once and never put them on again, but those were stupid broken when they first launched. They were disabled immediately, and now they are probably the worst exotic in the game or close to it. Never got unnerfed. We've had Hunters get things like Blight Ranger was a relatively new exotic in the past, whenever it was, and it's reflecting projectiles with the art. So many conceptually very bad exotic armors still exist, and almost none of them work very effectively with 3.0 subclasses, and there's just a huge number of them that need really significant overhauls. We've seen this to some extent on exotic weapons. They take more frequent passes, more substantial passes on exotic weapons. I really hope they start applying this to armor as well. I realize it's a little bit of a different of a situation because weapons are weapons, and the difference between legendary weapons and exotic weapons, you're going to elevate exotic weapons. With armor, we have these huge range builds where the most important part of your build is probably going to be your combat mod setup in the end, as opposed to, outside of a few very rare exceptions, something like a Heart of Inmost Light build, your exotic armor is only kind of one facet of the build rather than the entire build a lot of the time, because of how armor mods work, because of the combat mod system, and now the combat mod's changing to something else. But it's the same principle where I still think, though, exotic armor needs a lot more of a focus. It is turned into the situation where there's like 3 to 4 good to really good exotics on every class, including like 1 or 2 absolute must-have, must-uses, and like dozens and dozens and dozens of pieces of exotic armor that are just utter trash that have been completely forgotten about, which is a shame. And I hope over the course of the year we see more attention turned to that. I will just respect the notion that they probably just had way too much stuff to do with the launch of Lightfall. They are changing so many systems. They're changing like almost every aspect of the game in some form or another. So them missing a giant pass on, a few dozen exotic pieces of armor, like, okay, I can forgive that. And I can also recognize, even if this Heart of Inmost Light nerf is nuts, like, it's probably also warranted, and we've had like 2 full seasons of that being absolutely crazy. So we'll see what happens, but I do think it would have helped a little bit if some other things were offset by some buffs. Again, the whole sandbox is changing to such a degree that, we have these new burns and the overcharges and the new power scaling, and like everything is changing so much that even throwing another layer of a huge pass on exotic armor on top of that might have almost been too much, but I do hope it's coming in the future. So that is where we've landed on the exotic armor changes, which are barely anything except 2 big nerfs and a couple things working with strands. So tomorrow we will see how long it takes for the game to be playable. Witch Queen actually had a very smooth launch, I would say, for the most part. And my plan is to do probably just a normal playthrough of the campaign, just to get through the story kind of as quickly as possible so no one can spoil it for me. And then I will circle back around and do legendary playthroughs later on my different classes. I will play a good amount tomorrow afternoon after launch, try to get out a video about my first impressions. I have no idea if I will beat the full campaign by the time I do that. I kind of doubt it. But I will give a first impressions about Neomuna and the season, whatever's at the start here. And then obviously loads of content all week. The next several weeks, it's literally the busiest time of year for Destiny and therefore for me. So a lot to cover. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you out there tomorrow. Take care.